To the Batmobile. Let's go. Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed. Roger. Ready to move out.
Welcome to Nerdcast. This is the first segment of our show.
We got news and views for you. Tonight I'm talking about Great Gatsby and Metro Last Light.
Lots of news from Nintendo, EA, and just a bunch of nerd stuff in general.
Let's get right down into it. A lot.
I'm scared. Help me. All those people who stayed out really late to be the first to see Star Trek Into Darkness. Well, I hate to break it to you, but the three-person crew on the International Space Station were the first ones to see this highly anticipated film. Scotty beamed them up the movie to them this past Monday. That's not all. Using Google Plus Hangout, the crew of the space station and the cast of Star Trek got to meet. You can see the results at our Facebook page at facebook.com/nerdcastlaurel.
Well, it didn't touch Iron Man 3 as far as ticket sales, but Baz Luhrmann's take on The Great Gatsby is an order of magnitude over everything else that released last weekend. The new film made $51 million in its opening weekend, while the next highest grossing film was Pain and Gain, which made $5 million. That, as a huge book nerd, I gotta say I'm glad to see a timeless classic remade into something respectable. And the movie's had quite the fandom rally behind it as well. I've even seen some midnight release cosplay, and that's a pretty big deal for a movie that doesn't involve dragons in any way. If your high school skipped over Gatsby in the reading list, it's about a young man named Nick Carraway who moves to Long Island to sell bonds in New York City. Once in New York, Carraway gets caught up in the extravagance of super-rich New York living, especially concerning the parties of eccentric millionaire Gatsby. Gatsby befriends Carraway so that he can set up an affair with the married Daisy, his long-lost love interest, and Carraway's cousin. I had a few problems with this movie, I'm not going to lie to you. First off, who remembers how exciting the trailer was, playing No Church in the Wild over some absolutely crazy party shots and CGI? Luhrmann's choice to add modern party music to the Roaring Twenties might have been a good idea if those parties lasted past the first half of the movie. The trailer makes the movie seem like a critique of society as a debauched party-obsessed Sodom, but none of the party scenes are ever so super crazy that you couldn't take a kid to see this movie, or show it in a high school class. The closest this movie gets to driving home some theme is that the scene where the businessmen, politicians, and criminals are all partying together in a secret back room that they only know about because they're all rich. The movie says to us, oh no, these good people and these bad people are partying together, so they must all be bad people. Look at them drinking when drinking is against the law. They don't care about the law. I bet they're only rich because of crime. Basically, the movie panders directly to the Occupy movement, and somehow it still fails to drive home that point. Instead of showing how shady or evil these men are supposed to be, the movie just keeps focusing on how great the parties are. And everyone's having a good time, then it goes back to showing the audience a love affair. Only one character ever seems particularly sinister, the rest just come off as immature and naive. And even Carraway is more upset about Gatsby at the end of the film than about the corruption of society like in the book. It's like an adaptation made for reality TV. And that's weird because the movie's filled with nods that seem to remind the audience that there's a book about all this somewhere. Luhrmann especially loves to write the text on the screen. Like he's saying to the audience, remember when you read this part? That part was so great. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe Luhrmann was just trying to prove that he had read the book, like this whole movie was the result of a deep-seated grudge with an English teacher. And yet, despite all of this, I have to admit that I came out of the theater with my group of friends and we talked about how much we all loved the movie. Fundamentally, as a film, The Great Gatsby is engaging, dramatic, and the characters are genuinely interesting. Maybe Luhrmann reduced the novel into a love story with CGI parties, but it's still entertaining in that not-too-hard-to-watch kind of way. DiCaprio fits perfectly into the role of Gatsby, no surprises there, and Tobey Maguire remains impossible to take seriously, which makes me chuckle. I always picture crying Spider-Man. Maybe The Great Gatsby is a sign of times to come. 50 million certainly isn't a Lord of the Rings-style box office explosion, but it's putting up numbers close to superhero movies at a time when superhero movies might be at their zenith. The sad truth is that we're running out of heroes to put on screen. I mean, Ant-Man's getting a movie. Did anyone ask for Ant-Man? I digress. With superheroes hitting their peak, Gatsby, as well as Les Mis, which hit earlier this year, could be a sign that the next Hollywood trend is giving huge production budgets to recreations of classic novels. Whether or not that means the movies will be respectable works or cash grabs from a starved, obsessive audience is yet to be seen. But fingers crossed.
EA has heard you, fans. No more online passes, at least for their new games. Ideas like always being online and having to spend a few extra bucks if you bought the game used, that kind of stuff has been driving fans away. Now EA is trying to change ideas that aren't working, but the company still wants to prevent used game sales as much as possible. No word yet on what their next idea will be. Nintendo has decided to collect on ad revenue while trying to also persuade fans to maintain their loyalty. Usually, when a video on YouTube infringes on a copyright, it is removed as soon as it goes up. However, Nintendo wants the vids of their games to stay, with one minor catch. They want Nintendo ads to play before and after the video. Basically, when you get really stuck on that one Mario level and you watch a Let's Play to see how you get out of it, you'll also see an ad for Pikmin. It's not a bad deal. Unfortunately, this also means that if the first video doesn't have what you're looking for, you'll be watching ads more than the actual gameplay. Ouch, Nintendo.
How about a video game review? I want to start off by saying there's a huge difference between a difficult game and a bad game. Difficult games challenge some aspect of the player's skill or knowledge. Dark Souls, for example. It's an excellent title, extremely difficult, requires players to think through situations, create a combat plan, and execute it with very real consequences for failure. Dark Souls limits everything from resources, even to the swipes of attack animations, in order to require players to strategize, and the tension that creates is palpable. Dark Souls is a good game, a difficult, sometimes frustrating, but quickly immersive, good game. Now let me tell you about Metro Last Light. Last Light is the sequel to Metro 2033 and tells the story of Artyom, one of many survivors of a nuclear blast in Moscow. The citizens of Moscow are forced to live underground in the city's metro tunnels while they wait decades for the surface to become livable again. While that happens, the survivors are divided into political camps, like Nazis. Somehow the Nazis survived the apocalypse. The first Metro game revolved around a species of mutants called Dark Ones, which were nearly indestructible telepaths with a talent for mind-hacking some humans. Last Light picks up on that after the main ending of the first game, where Artyom sent missiles to decimate the Dark One's nest. One of Artyom's friends reports that he found a Dark One surviving on the surface, and he wants you to go talk to it, in case they're friendly. And since you seem to be some kind of magic human, your commanding officer tells you to go kill the Dark One, and bam, the game gives you your first moral choice. If you're anything like me, this is where you stopped caring. You see, there's basically no world building leading up to that choice. All I know about my friend is that the game tells me he's my friend because he wakes me up when I'm sleeping, which made me very uncomfortable. All I know about the group of humans I'm with is that they're neither Nazis nor communists, so I really didn't know or care about anyone I was inevitably betraying by making this choice. My decision was certainly not helped by the voice acting either. The game seems to have about 4 voice actors, all speaking in fake Russian accents, and I'm convinced that all of them are robots. The key word here is immersion. Right from the start, Last Light skips any chance of bringing the player into the world, and then it just assumes that you're along for the ride anyway. From here, the game falls apart. It bills itself as a combination stealth first-person shooter and survival horror game, both of which require tension born of immersion. But there's just none, and the jump between stealth sequences and horror sequences are so cut and dry they're never really surprising or engaging. You're either stealthily killing humans or gunning down mutants, and neither is difficult. Human AI is set somewhere around severe concussion. If you want to silently stab one in the neck, all you have to do is walk up to them in partial shadow. They're blind and deaf to anything that's not fully illuminated. Then it's one click, dead. The supposedly scary sequences aren't any better, and that's just because the game is too dark. I played Last Light on the recommended settings for both brightness and difficulty, and the game's just too dark. When I was killed in a horror sequence, it was because I couldn't see what was killing me. All I remember is that there was some blur, my flashlight didn't pick it up, and then I was dead. It was like being trapped in a fight scene in Alien vs. Predator. The death just felt cheap, and it doesn't help that Artyom has the world's weakest flashlight. I actually got eye strain headache playing this game. But then I turned up the brightness and the mutants just became clearly visible, very stupid targets. For all the game's promises about resources like ammo being scarce, that isn't the case either. Guns on dead bodies are everywhere, and you only need to use guns about half the time. There are even monsters you can kill just by shining your weak flashlight on them. Money is useless from the start because all you can buy with it are the same guns, ammo, and supplies that you're already picking up off dead Nazis. But the final nail in Last Light's coffin is the game's poor conveyance. Level designs often leave exits in complete shadow with no indication that they exist at all. That can be frustrating enough as it is, but Last Light takes it a step further by making air a limited resource in certain rooms and hallways. Combine that with oddly placed invisible walls and inaccessible doors, and you have the most frustrating level designs I've ever seen. Sections of this game even had dead-end hallways and false doors that got me killed because I ran out of air exploring them. And since resources aren't really scarce, when you go down a dead-end hallway and find another gun or a small amount of money that's supposed to be a bonus, well, you just don't need it, and you lost air as a consequence. Most of the time, I went down these hallways thinking that I was going to the end of the map, only to find out it was a dead end, and the gun I found I didn't need, and it wasn't going to keep me from suffocating. The result is that the game ends up punishing you for exploration, and if you lose enough air, you can't make it from the checkpoint to the end of the map, and then you just don't get to finish the game. You'll walk as far as you can, run out of air, and die, and you can't go past that point because there's just no more air. You can't finish the game, you have to start the entire chapter over. Now here's the thing, I know that there's an audience for this game. I never played the first Metro game, and I think maybe I would have been more immersed if I had. So I'm comfortable recommending this to people who have played the first game and liked it, fine. But this title has also made me very aware of another group of gamers, the PC elitists. These are the guys who hear my complaints about near total darkness and poor level design, and they call it a challenge. They say that modern video games are too easy, and that if you're struggling with their more realistic post-apocalyptic Nazi shooting simulator, then you're just a casual noob who needs to go back to Call of Duty and other games that hold your hand and play for you. Well, you people are jerks. Last Light is not a challenging game. And even though the designers tried to force immersion by taking away the HUD and not letting you know how much ammo's in your clip, well, none of these things make the game especially difficult. The game just adds a long time to finish because you need the patience to deal with the trial and error level design alongside a suffocation timer. Final word, I wish I could have gotten into this game. There are a lot of brave ideas that I think Last Light was reaching for, but it just fell short on some of the basics. Still, I think players can look to past design issues and manage to immerse themselves. Well, maybe those players could really enjoy this game. Just remember to turn up your brightness for your own sake. Please.
A new Phoenix Wright game is on its way to the 3DS via Nintendo eShop. Disappointed about not being able to have a physical copy? Well, there is a reason for opting for digital only. Capcom is hoping to ensure fans will easily be able to buy the game long after its release. Pokemon fans, get ready. In addition to finally being able to choose a hair color after answering, "Are you a boy or a girl?" in the new region, we finally get mounts. That's right, people. You can go explore the region of Karos with a noble Pokemon steed. Speaking of mounts, the MMO Rift is going free to play in June. More and more MMOs are turning to this model, including The Secret World and Star Wars: The Old Republic. Maybe that's why WoW subscribers dropped below 10 million. Gran Turismo 6 is coming this holiday season to the PS3. It will push the limits of the system, but there has been no promise of a PS4 version for now, though that is being considered. Even if it doesn't make its way to the PS4, the game promises new cards and plenty of tracks to keep you playing. Let's hope it's not delayed like the last one. New show, new segment.
Here's the latest comic book news with our new section, Comic Crash, with our comic book specialist, Jeremy Lawton.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Lawton. You may have heard of me from that time that Mitch told you about me. I'm doing a section called Comic Crash. It's kind of like the other segment, except there's only one of me. I've been doing comic reviews for about 2 years on Comic Vine under the name The Mighty Monarch, where I'm ranked second. So I know my stuff. Last week, the major comic companies released their August solicits, and bad news for some DC fans, there's 4 more cancellations, despite them still having 3 open slots from cancellations in June and July. The 4 series we lost this time were DC Classic, Legion of Superheroes, Brilliant Dark Fantasy Demon Knights, Sci-Fi Anthology Threshold, and Vertigo S series Dial H. Dial H is personally extremely upsetting to lose for me. It was my replacement number 3 after the cancellation of iVampire, but I take some solace in knowing that Dial H gets a triple-length finale. Grant Morrison's final contribution to DC for the near future, aside from Multiversity, was officially announced, though without a release date. Wonder Woman Earth 1, following the success of J. Michael Straczynski's Superman Earth 1 and Jeff Johns' Batman Earth 1. All tales exploring the big-name superheroes of DC in an alternate, more realistic Earth. Morrison's illustrator for this book will be former Swamp Thing artist Yannick Paquette. Superman Earth 1 Volume 3 and Batman Earth 1 Volume 2 were also confirmed later in the week. Marvel didn't have a lot of big shakes in their solicits, aside from the first upcoming solicits for the much-hyped event Infinity, which I'm actually very much looking forward to. It was confirmed that August's issue of Avengers Assemble, Thunderbolts, and Captain Marvel will be the first tie-ins to the event, aside from event core titles Avengers and New Avengers, both by Jonathan Hickman, who's writing Infinity. The biggest Marvel news came from the release of the trailer for the much-anticipated Avengers spin-off, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Describing it wouldn't really do it justice, but it looks spectacular. Check it out on YouTube. The CW, former broadcaster of DC's Smallville and current broadcaster of DC's Arrow, has reassured Wonder Woman fans that despite the lack of a mention on the 2013-2014 schedule, Amazon, a series set to explore the origins of Wonder Woman, is still in the works. CW President Mark Pedowitz told journalists that they're waiting for the script of the pilot and are busy with the casting of Diana. And now for reviews from last week's comics. For the first year of the New 52, Catwoman was an amazingly deep series, despite a pretty high dose of sexuality. But for some reason, DC decided to replace the creative team with the likes of Ann Nocenti. Generally, she has good ideas with horrendous execution, but on Catwoman, she delivers some of the worst comic book writing I've read in my life. Rafa Sandoval's artwork is pretty good, nothing to write home about, but not bad in any way. My score isn't based on his art alone. Nocenti's writing is just dull. It is drastically bad. It counters some of the good of Sandoval's artwork. That's a retrospective of all the recent issues, I know, but this one's no different. 1 out of 5. Don't let the gorgeous artwork on the cover fool you. Daniel Way's Thunderbolts number 9 isn't very good. The series saw a brief spike in quality when it brought on artist Phil Noto, but something is making even his great artwork look still and boring. Daniel Way writes a highly entertaining Deadpool here, but the story is far too convoluted in a weirdly grounded way that just doesn't seem to fit with the high-octane characters. The reading experience is just an awkward affair, which is a shame considering the all-star lineup of the team. Red Hulk, Deadpool, Punisher, Elektra, and Venom. But never fear, Swamp Thing writer Charles Soule is coming onto the series soon, and then it might be worth getting, but for now, Thunderbolts number 9 gets a 2 out of 5. Romano Molnar's artwork has definitely improved in Birds of Prey number 20, but I was already on board with him as the artist. However, writer Christy Marks hasn't improved the series nearly as much as I expected, coming off her excellent Amethyst run on Sword of Sorcery. There's too much unnecessary conflict in this issue. Like, how are the Court of Owls not the greatest evil in the room? Certainly more so than tragic anti-villain Mr. Freeze. The end is a good cliffhanger, but throughout the issue, there's just too much self-loathing from Black Canary. Her angst is somewhat unjustified, and frankly, it's beginning to get obnoxious, but I'd still give it a 3 out of 5. Brian Azzarello's Wonder Woman has fans pretty divided, so chances are you already know if you like or dislike the current Wonder Woman series. But if you haven't been reading it, it ranks among my highest recommendations, whether you like Wonder Woman or not. I cared little for the character before, but when I gave every New 52 series a shot, Wonder Woman quickly climbed the ranks into my top 5. Azzarello's been crafting a phenomenal story, completely reimagining the Greek pantheon with a story that shows them for the completely dysfunctional, backstabbing extended family they are. The only downside is that each issue is harder and harder to use as a jumping-on point because this big story is so continuous. So I'd recommend starting at the beginning. The first collection is in paperback, the second is in hardback. Wonder Woman number 20 has the 2 major plot lines finally colliding, leading to a certain spectacle without equal to follow. The action in this issue was top-notch, and it was just a warm-up battle. Like many issues of Wonder Woman, but not quite a few of the most recent ones, number 20 gets a perfect 5 out of 5. Also, last week was the season finale of the CW's DC Comics-based show, Arrow. The series itself started off decently enough, but as the season went on, the quality kept increasing. The season finale represented the climax of immense magnitude, full of genuinely shocking moments, serious emotion, and of course, lots and lots of archery. The final battle with the Dark Arrow was easily the best fight of the series thus far, and so many character arcs reached a huge peak, especially Roy Harper. The biggest thing about the finale was the setup for some massive repercussions and the fallout of everything that happened for next season. 10 out of 10, best episode of the season, and I can't wait to see season 2.
And now, Nerd Gear.
Google I/O has brought a slew of new information about what the company has been up to. For starters, they have decided that if Spotify and Pandora can charge for radio, why can't Google as well? For $10 a month, you can pay to listen to music on your phone, but they don't offer this service for your web browser. Come on now, Google.
Google Hangouts Plus. This old new app wants to be your everything, unless you're on AT&T, in which case it doesn't really care. This IM video chat will replace the old Google Talk app and be available across devices, including iOS. They've added features like emoji and picture sharing, with a focus on having a conversation. Unfortunately, it looks like AT&T might block video chatting, so it won't clog their network. I guess you'll just have to use that Wi-Fi.
Samsung is on the receiving end of some customers' complaint for their new phone, the Galaxy S4. While the phone may have 16 gigabytes of storage space, users only have 9.5 for apps, music, pictures, whatever. Users are filling the space up quickly. Samsung has promised to determine if it can reduce the memory of some features in the phone, but for the meantime, this is all they have.
Asus Transformabooks laptops will be available tomorrow, May 21st. These netbooks have a detachable keyboard and a touchscreen, so you can use it as a tablet. Very different from the tablets you can use with a keyboard that make a netbook. And not to be outdone, the Lenovo IdeaPad Yogo 11S will be available at Best Buy in June. Quite a few new laptops are coming out. 'Tis a season.
And that's Nerd Gear. I won't bore you with a blatant plug to go like us on Facebook at facebook.com/nerdcastlaurel. And we're going to move on to table topic. Tonight, we have a guest.
Today we have Aaron Bush here with us. He's a game developer, indie game developer, working on a title called Fat Cat for the iOS. We're just here to ask him a whole bunch of embarrassing and personal questions.
First question, Aaron, who are you?
Well, my name's Aaron, as you already know. I'm an independent game developer, develop mobile games, apps for iPhone and Android.
Okay, well, tell us a little bit about your studio. It's called Killer Penguin Studios, correct?
Yeah, so my studio is Killer Penguin Studios, and I came up with that name because I'm a huge fan of penguins. And
Who isn't?
just playing Xbox Live, I've always had that gamer tag Killer Penguins, so
Nice.
just brought it along with myself.
You're going to get so many requests now.
So, you're making this game for the iOS. Is this the first time you've ever gone out and made a game?
I'm actually, I did programming for a current game that's in the App Store now called Attack the Mall Zombies.
Okay.
So that's out there, but this is my first game that I'm doing for my company called Fat Cat, and it's a 2D casual platformer Twitch game, and with it being a Twitch game, you can keep rotating because the core mechanic of the game is rotation.
Okay.
So you can keep rotating the world without it stopping at any point in time.
What's your target audience for Fat Cat?
My target audience is everybody. So I want even the older generation of grandparents or great-grandparents that can pick this up to play to the younger kids that are 6, 5, 4. So just all around.
So you have a Kickstarter for this, correct?
Yeah, so I launched a Kickstarter about 2 weeks ago, and there's probably about 20 days left on it. I'm trying to raise funds because this whole time I've been spending my own money, and I've kind of capped out on that, so just trying to get the funds to be able to get the game done. There's licensing costs and other fees that go into developing a game.
There's actually an interesting point with your Kickstarter. For anyone out there who's a game developer looking to get in on the industry, if you donate $1,000 to the Fat Cat Kickstarter, Aaron actually allows you to, or the pledge at least says, you can join in the design of the game.
We actually have, within doing Kickstarter, there's different reward tiers. And within those reward tiers, depending on the amount of money you donate, of course people will donate money because they just want to see the game get done. But then there's the tiers that people can become, as you said, become a part of the game, where you can create an enemy, and that enemy will become a part of the game. We're going to have different outfits for the cat that you can put on your cat. So another reward is people can create an outfit for the cat to wear. And there's a whole bunch of others. You can design a level, you can name a level, and all that stuff is for the millions of people that will download this game to see your stuff in this game.
What's the most expensive reward?
The most expensive reward we have is $2,500, and there's only 2 of those, and that's for other companies where they can. If you notice when you play a game on the iPhone, it has the splash screens, and a company will put their logo there, so people that are playing this will see that company that backed us.
Oh, that's really good. You have the different reward tiers. You even have some basic ones so that somebody who just maybe isn't a game developer, like rewards incentives for them, right? Like, what are the smaller tiers that?
So the smaller tiers is, of course, you can just donate $1, and we'll love you for that. But then you can get the game for free, or we have pins that you write with that has our company on it and say that you backed Fat Cat. T-shirts, digital soundtracks, digital art books, T-shirts. So we got stuff all over the board.
What's your goal and how close to it are you?
So we're asking for a little under 5,000, which isn't a whole lot for developing a game. And I mean, we still have a long way to go. So
please help him out. You know, the Kickstarter sounds really interesting. I've seen a little bit of what he's been working on, and you can check out the Kickstarter page. Here we'll show you just a little bit of what his game looks like from the preview, but it looks really interesting, and it's a local developer. I mean, how cool is that? So, but you're just starting out the studio. This is right now for iOS. Are you looking to develop for Android?
Yeah, we're looking to develop for Android. If we do surpass our asking goal, then we're going to launch Android version with the iOS version. But that involves programming another language, and so there's a lot more that goes into developing for the different platforms.
Okay. I don't want to poison the well here, but about how far along in production are you?
Probably say about 75%.
Okay.
So we have about like 120 levels done, enemies, special bonus levels, and a whole bunch of other things. And we're going to add other stuff for, like, instance, to the Kickstarter. There will be like exclusive bonus levels just to the backers.
Okay.
So backers will have things exclusive just to them that nobody else will have access to in the game.
Are you planning on adding new levels later, or are you going to start working on a different game after that?
Well, we're always going to do updates, so we're going to take people's feedback. And that's one of the big things that I want to do that a lot of people don't do is listening to the reviews and your customers and trying to make them happy, and just getting those updates out there. But I have plans for another game. It's going to be a puzzle game, so pretty excited about that.
Can you tell us anything about that, or is it too early?
Too early.
Okay.
Don't want to give any surprises away, but that'll probably take about 1.5 years to 2 years to develop.
Okay.
What kind of other iPhone games do you enjoy?
I'm kind of all over the board. I mainly like puzzle games, but kind of like they have like some of the nice racing games or fighting games. So I'm kind of all over the board with everything.
Okay. Here's a big question, because here in Nerddom, I know we love to pit our favorite characters against each other. Of course, Superman, Batman, the big rivalries, Power Rangers, Ninja Turtles. Would Fat Cat beat Angry Birds?
I don't really know if you could compare the two.
No?
I mean, if you got your Angry Birds just sitting around and you rotate that world and Fat Cat just lands on the bird, I mean, you're going to have a pancake bird.
So Fat Cat wins.
Yeah, I mean, and in the game we do have, as one of the bonuses, we have birds that fly through and you catch those birds, eat them, and you open up bonus levels. So,
Calling you out right now. Get ready, Angry Birds. Fat Cat's coming.
he's coming for you.
Thank you for watching this week's Nerdcast. Next week, we're going to have information on the Microsoft conference, my review of Star Trek Into Darkness, and Bill Allen will be on the show to talk about his new segment, Philosophy of.
And I might get a little philosophical too. Like, Stephanie Brown is the only Robin whose last name isn't a first name. Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, Damian Wayne, even Earth 2's Helena Wayne, Carrie Kelly, and The Dark Knight Rises' John Blake. And also, probably reviewing next week's Batman Incorporated, Lil Gotham, Green Lantern, Spectacular Superior Spider-Man, Deadpool, Green Team, and the final issue of Firestorm.
It's going to be an exciting week. We hope you all join us back here on Nerdcast.